Hey guys, if you love QF's content on our free Sundays and Thursday sessions, then please visit our Patreon page in the description and sub to the Black Kluge tier or higher for full access to not only our bonus weekly Tuesday night shows and the alternate Sunday shows you've been missing, but also to the exclusive episodes not available to the lower tiers. It's roughly the price of one coffee a month, and nobody at Starbucks will make you laugh like we do for that kind of scratch. In addition, when you sub to the Black Kluge tier, you'll get 2 weeks advance access to each Thursday session on Patreon before it makes it to YouTube.
Has a boyfriend and she's dying to use a vagina that they just built for her, and she's 7 inches deep, and she's dating a kid from Philadelphia, and she wants to try it out. And I think that's why she wants to move out of the house. She wants to have sleepovers with the boyfriend. Her parents are like so involved with her. Like, I'm kind of jealous because my parents had nothing to do with me.
Well, if you had had these issues, maybe they would have gotten involved.
Yeah, I could just imagine my parents. Mom, I'm thinking maybe I want to be a woman.
What did you say?
I said, I'm thinking about it, and I think I'm trapped in the wrong body. I'm actually not a boy, I'm a girl. Oh. It's driving me crazy. I'm a big fan of the TV show I Am Jazz. Jazz is
Jazz is back?
Yeah, but she gained 100 pounds. I'm really bummed out. She was this young girl, very bright girl. She went to Harvard. A little tired today. I was up late last night watching I Am Jazz. I watched that. Do you watch I Am Jazz?
What is that?
This is a 17-year-old dude who, used to be a dude. Now he's a transgender. Now he's a she. And she's getting ready for her bottom surgery. And I've been.
Wow. Where's this on? Your crazy Discovery Channel where you see the fat people and all that?
Yeah. It's on TLC. It's the same channel as 1,000 Pound Sisters. I love it. I got Tammy and Amy, 1,000 Pound Sisters, it's probably the best television, even better than The Bachelor.
After the surgery.
Well, they got her deep enough to handle a 6-inch cock. They had 6-inch penetration in there. So, and by the way, she looked good too. We love it here. We love it. We love jazz.
So that's back into it.
Yeah. We love jazz. We decided, if we had a kid, me and Beth and I, we'd want jazz. Because jazz transgender, which is kind of fun because she gets you on TV. The parents seem to love it. Mother can't get out of the frame. So they're into it. And jazz is very delightful, like a sweet kid. And going to Harvard. In another twist, she has a brother. She has 2 brothers. One of the brothers is going out on dates with trans women.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern. I'm Phil Moore, your host, a.k.a. Jim Fix, and with me back on the show after a little bit of a hiatus is Mr. Carey L. How are you, sir?
Good. Hanging in there.
Guys, we've got an old piece of audio from October 24th, 2006. Stern's well into Sirius, and he's still got a war going with the gossip columns. And this was from Rush and Malloy, George Rush and his wife. I can't remember her name. Was Susan Malloy? I can't remember her name. Let me just see if I got this right. June or Joanna? Oh, no. Let me see if that's right. Yeah, okay. I think that's correct. They retired from the New York Daily News, and they're doing their own thing. At least he did. And this was a report on him buying a $300,000 desk in some antiquing area, and that he asked some fan, if they to prove that they're really a fan, to get down on their knees, which I'm sure he meant pray to me. That kind of thing. Not get on your knees and suck my dick.
I hope not. I hope that wasn't the case.
Yeah. So he goes on.
How bizarre.
He goes on a tirade about this, and so we're going to have a lot of audio to play, guys, and you just listen to how the bullshit goes. But before we do, I'm going to read a part of this article from The Observer. in that it features the two of these columnists. Brad Pitt almost beat him up. Did he tell you about that? Said Mrs. Malloy while sitting at the bar. Eventually they made up with Mr. Pitt. Mr. Rush and Miss Malloy have developed good relationships with many of their subjects, even though things have remained dicey with some celebrities like Sean Penn. He called Joanne and screamed at her for writing about this crazy night out with some strippers, and he said, "My children are going to read that," even though they probably couldn't read at the time, said Mr. Rush. Then he said, "You get a lot of that. Children are the last refuge of the scoundrel." So that's key when you're listening to this clip. All right, so here we go.
To sleep, I laid there for 2 hours, and then the alarm went off about a bunch of shit. Then I got up, started to get ready for the show. Then I opened up the Daily News. Then I got pissed off at Russia Malloy again. I'm so angry. Well, they wrote, I'm going to read you an article, a gossip column that is, there isn't one truth in the thing. And I want to call them and just fucking yell at them.
Are you ready to just end the show right now?
Yeah. I mean, come on. Then sue them. Yeah, sue them. If what they said, if there wasn't one thing in there that was true, then they should sue them for defamation.
Well, isn't that the way it would always go if it's a litigious, case where, there's some defamation of character to be had in the piece. Let's call it a hit piece. Haven't you heard tell of this? Not just in the news, but of friends or colleagues that have had to go to trial for this kind of stuff?
Well, no, I really haven't. But let me think. Actually, I think it would be libel because this was in the days of newspaper, but it's kind of the same thing more or less. If it were 100%, like he said, it's totally made up, or there's not one. No, he just said there's not one thing that they said was true.
Right.
And if that were true, then yes, he'd have an ironclad case for libel right then and there. New York Daily News, pull out your checkbook. But of course, we know that truth is a defense, and we know that that it's probably all 1,000% true.
Well, yeah, I mean him buying a stripper Mercedes, he never sued about that.
Nope. He hadn't sued about a lot of things, really.
Yeah.
As far as stuff that's been in the gossip columns. As far as I know, I'm trying to think, was there something that he sued on and they settled? I'm trying to remember, and I can't off the top of my head. Something.
Well, the Scott Einziger, the Scott Einziger / Jackie thing. Well, it wasn't Jackie. It was Scott Einziger and ABC. That "Are You Hot" thing. They settled out of court for that, and there was an NDA that basically the case was sealed. The results were sealed, but he sued that Chicago company that ran the station that he was on against Mancow for taking him off the air or cutting him and not giving him some bonus that he claimed he was due. And of course he sued Sirius when he signed for that second contract.
Right, but there's been nothing that was that he claimed was defamatory or libelous. Nothing. I haven't seen. I don't think. I was thinking there might have been one or two cases, but maybe not. I might be thinking of. I might have been thinking of Trump. Like Trump sues for that stuff all the time, and now the companies just cave
because it's cheaper than going to an extended lawsuit.
No, they're just afraid of them. And these corporations, especially the big media companies, are so huge now, and a lot of them have mergers and things like that, and they don't want any heat from the Federal Trade Commission, so they cave. It's almost like a mafia situation. So that's been a lot of that's been in the news lately. But thinking about Howard specifically, yeah, I was thinking there was something based on libel out there, but maybe not. Like the things that you're going over, I remember those very clearly. Yeah, and there's been a lot of gossip about him, but he doesn't sue. He threatens to, but it never happens because he knows he's not going to win, and he knows he doesn't want it to come out in court and somebody go, "Yeah, that's exactly what happened."
And would it be a situation where he'd actually have to
Yeah, he would.
Like he couldn't just send his lawyer. He couldn't send his lawyers to do his work for him. He'd have to be there.
No, right. Because especially in a civil case, he would have to show and prove how he was harmed.
Yes.
So I would think he would have to, the easiest way for that to happen would be to put him on the stand and go, well, how are you harmed, Mr. Stern? Oh, I lost this deal and that because they told me that they wouldn't hire me, or, I wouldn't get this certain gig because of what was in the gossip column or whatever.
Right. Like a morals clause or something that scuttled something, because Hardy had a story about having a gig with 7-Eleven. Like, this is just a promotion thing, right, where he'd be the face of 7-Eleven for some slushy machine or something like that, or a hot dog machine. And then the pig story came out, and he said he lost it.
Yeah, but yeah, it would be, something like that, or, oh, I had to go to therapy. I was so, emotionally damaged by this, and then they'd have like some psychiatrist quack come in and tell, oh, yes, that's exactly what happened. So I mean, as far as the damages phase, definitely,
yeah,
that, and that's a part of a civil suit.
Mm-hmm.
Those assholes. You know what I'm going to do from now on?
What?
Which is the guy, Malloy or Rush?
I don't know.
Rush and Malloy are gossip columnists here in
And it's a
Daily
man
Mail.
and a woman.
Listen to this.
Which means it's two birds.
Yeah, I could put up with most of the bullshit in this story, except for the last sentence.
Right.
I wondered about that. I said, are they making a joke or
Beth came in so upset. Now, Beth was with me. I don't know if they're making a joke, but I would never say this to a woman. You know me.
Right.
I would never. This is what people imagine I'd be like in my private life. I'll read you the whole thing, but first I got to read you this part. And I got to, Gary, get that fucking Rush and Malloy, whoever the fuck these two nightmares are. It claims I was somewhere, and I'll tell you where they claim I was, and I was there, but...
That's the one truth?
Yeah, a fan yelled out, Howard, a pretty girl gushed. Now, mind you, I'm with Beth.
Mm-hmm.
Howard, I love you. Howard replied, so are you going to get on your knees now? Good thing.
Okay, hold on. Can play a little more, guys.
Beth laughed.
Jeez.
Now, I got to tell you something.
Jesus.
I know we do a wild show, but if anyone knows me, I would never... I have 3 daughters, and I got news for you. The reason I get upset about the shit they write about me is because I don't want my daughters reading the paper today.
Okay. When did he ever give a fuck about his daughters, about anything? And think of what he's been through in his life. The Columbine, a lot of those things are now making the rounds because of the whole cancellation angle this month, which is bullshit. He's back, and he'll probably get the renewal anyway. If I were the Columbine killers, I would have raped some kids. I would have had some sex before I shot them. I mean, okay, that is something you're fine with, but this is what you're bothered with?
Yeah, and because of his children, because of his daughters.
Yeah.
And then I'm glad you read that one quote. That was it's really apropos. The children are the last bastion of the scoundrels. Yeah, that's his go-to.
Yeah.
Not Beth, because she was cracking up thinking it was funny.
Right, exactly. So giving him a mercy laugh because she's, Robin in that situation, because it's not a funny joke, but it just sounds kind of creepy. But even whatever context he was talking about.
And the weird thing with me and my daughters is when they read something like this, they tell me about it. So that's even worse.
Ooh, so
and it's like
they just sort of try to live with
so
it.
Their father's an asshole. I went to an antique show, according to this newspaper today, and a woman said, Howard, I love you. And I said, so why don't you get on your knees?
Right.
In a million years, I wouldn't be that fucking lame.
Well, you would. The first thing that comes to his mind, anytime there's some kind of... anytime there's an opportunity, the joke that he goes for, whether it's written form or not, which is usually not, is something lowbrow and obvious that any hack would come up with. So why wouldn't he come up with something like that?
Right, or like the response of like a 14-year-old boy. That, something simple or simple,
crude.
stupid, and very crude.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just so bummed out about it, I can't tell you.
Bummed out.
So from now on, I'm going to talk about this guy, Rush. I guess his name is George Rush. I heard from someone that he called a woman a cunt the other day. She came up and said she was a fan of the Rush and Malloy column, and he said, you're a fucking cunt. And he called her a cunt and kicked her in her snatch. That's a
Okay, so this is Howard, like this is him on the warpath. You can tell why he's really bothered because he's going by this. He's doing the same kind of talk that he would do when that he did when Wendy went after him, and very lightly, I heard about him. I'm going to make this up.
Right, right. Yeah. If anything, if anything, this George Rush has a claim now. But Howard replied, no, it was satire. I was just joking.
Right.
Quote. That's what I heard.
The only unbelievable thing is someone being a fan of the Russian Malloy.
Yeah, well, I have to work on my story.
Right, yeah, you got to do something better. I read your column every day.
But not only that, the entire, like Beth pointed out, there's 15 false things in here. Like literally 3.
The column isn't that long. How could there be 15?
Howard Stern may traffic in rock and raunch on the air, but at home he likes the finer things about him. The serious jock and his girlfriend, Beth Ostrowski, took an interest in a $300,000 18th century partner's desk at the Society of Memorial Sloan Kettering's preview party for Houghton's Art and Antique show the other night. So...
Okay, $300,000 for a fucking desk?
What? And that's a lie? Or is that the truth? I mean, he can afford it. $300,000 is like maybe $300 to you and me.
Right.
Seriously.
If that.
Yeah, like if the desk that I'm on right now, I'm trying to think. Ina and I got it after we got married. And we were setting up an office, and she looked around and saw it on like an Office Depot type place, Office Max or whatever.
Right.
And it cost, and I had to put it together, and it was like $100 or 150, something like that.
Okay.
Whatever. So twice that. Yeah, so a $300 desk, that's significant. It's significant, but for Howard, $300,000, it's $300.
Well, the other thing is, first of all, like a situation like this, it's someone following them, looking at them, watching them, eyeing this thing, and then when they walk away, let's say they don't get it, going up to the person that has the desk and saying, "How much is this going for?" And then finding out the cost. Mm-hmm. That's it. Very simple.
Yeah.
So, the number doesn't have to be made up.
Right. And then what is it? Some kind of Sloan Kettering auction or whatever?
That's right.
Is it a fundraising thing? Because Sloan Kettering is like what is that? Like a medical.
That's a cancer specializing in cancer hospital. Yeah.
Correct. So it's probably a fundraiser. It
could be a fundraiser. At the very least, it's just a very well-heeled auction. I mean, if you're selling antiques, I don't know what antiques go for, depending what they are and the condition they're in. But could a desk really be worth $300,000?
Would they say it was from the 18th century? So
let me just go right back there. Let me try that again.
Yeah, what century was
the entire? Like Beth pointed out, there's 15 false things in here. Like literally 3.
The column isn't that long. How could there be 15?
Howard Stern may traffic in rock and raunch on the air, but at home he likes the finer things about him. The serious jock and his girlfriend, Beth Ostrowski, took an interest in a $300,000 18th century partner's desk at the Society of Memorial Sloan Kettering's preview party for...
Okay, so something from the 1700s. Oh, all right, I guess, I could. If it was in good enough condition and it was famous for some reason, I could go that high.
Yeah, but $300,000, wow, for a desk. Yeah, I mean, but again, he can afford it. It's not out of I don't know. You know what? Maybe it would be like buying a $3,000 desk for you and I, which would... Well, not even that. No, it probably for him it would still probably be $300.
I think $300.
But he's so cheap, or maybe he is cheap.
Yeah.
But when he wants to pay for stuff, he will. And he's probably got some kind of angle. Especially if it's a charity auction, it's probably he's got some kind of. He's going to get a tax break on it or something. It's
maybe
there's going to be, he ain't going to pay full pop for it. That's for sure.
Well, Stuttering John made it to the Hamptons house, which is where this was ostensibly bought for. And what that place is really like they've taken sections of, whatever structures and put them in, placed them there. It's not like people went there and there was a carpenter that went there and built everything from scratch. Any antiques they got, they brought in, like fixtures and stuff. They just brought in and installed them in the Hamptons house. Because and they wanted it to look some kind of like rustic, definitely wood based, heavily on the wood, floors, wood paneling, wood everything, not paneling, but you know what I mean, like wood fixtures, everything, because they were going for a look, but the look they were going for was every hotel we've been to that was 5 stars and whatever their lobby looked like, let's make that room look like that. It looked gaudy. It doesn't go together, that Hamptons house.
I just remember those pictures from a while back. There was that one room that looked nautical, like it had I don't know, ropes and anchors and shit in it.
And a porthole.
Portholes. Yeah, exactly. Freaking whale harpoons.
Yeah. Yeah, the captain's quarters or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah, really brutal. I mean, if you're going for a theme, if you ran a lighthouse, I could get with that. I understood that. But, Christ's sake.
Right.
Barton's Art and Antique show the other night. So we have a decorator who said, would you like to go to the antique show? I have some extra tickets. I said, oh, great. I love looking at that shit. I go in there.
Right.
And I'm walking around looking at stuff. So I see a desk. I go, oh, that's, the guy says, isn't that a beautiful desk to me? I go, yeah, it's beautiful. I go, what's a thing like that cost? The guy goes, $300,000. I said, wow.
I'll be moving along.
I'll be moving along. That's the story. I'm not looking at it. I wouldn't, in my right mind, ever be able to. I would be afraid to sit at a $300,000 desk. It's a completely false fucking item.
The more he swears, the more I think, yeah, get it. That. That's exactly what he said. Oh, 300? What the fuck? Because he's trying to impress Beth, or he's trying to act like a big shot, or because she goes, I want that. And at that point, they're like, well, we got to put stuff in the place, so why not? What's 300 at this point?
Well, okay, so, but let's think about it. So, was she living with him at the time? Because they weren't married, right?
Yeah. She was. And so...
Wait, but did he have Chimney Manor at the time? I thought he got that after he got married.
The Hamptons place?
Yeah.
I think if they've just got it, let's do our research. Hold on. 2005. So the year before.
Okay. So
this falls in the timeline perfectly.
Yeah, it really does, because I imagine rich people probably they know they're going to move into a place and they're like, oh, let's look for stuff to furnish it with, and
and a lot of his house looked like something like almost low rent Joan Rivers. Have you ever seen Joan Rivers' place in New York when she was living there?
Was there a lot of gold and gilded crap?
Yeah, it was very ornate. Yeah. It was very Victorian.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Yeah, she had like a really, really nice flat. I was thinking when they were talking about the going to these kind of things, there's been a lot. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just coming up in my feed on YouTube or something. But I was watching stuff they were talking about how Michael Jackson essentially was going broke by the time, around the time he had passed away.
Yeah.
And I remember there was some documentary I watched or something where they were showing him in Las Vegas at some like antique store, and he was just walking around pointing at stuff to be bought, and it was all this like just garish crap,
tacky shit.
Tacky, but it was all like super expensive, statues of Mercury and and the Venus de Milo and all this other kind of stuff, but it was super expensive, and he was just picking it out. I mean, to me it looked kind of like a junk store, something you'd see on Sanford and Son, but he was he was just going through just picking stuff out, and I'm like, there's a limit to this, you just can't spin forever, but apparently that's what he was doing.
Michael was going, he would buy the stupidest things. I'm not even just talking about the Neverland Ranch, just in general. But like for some reason, he always seemed to think it was 1983 and he was selling 1 million copies of Thriller a day and still had the
Right.
Beatles catalog making all kinds of money. And he was making, with that catalog, he was making all kinds of money, but he was spending way more than he was making. And Elvis was the same way before
Right.
he died.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that about Elvis. But yeah, I guess, when you think about it, it wasn't like Elvis was, you know, making any new music and doing stuff like that. And it's crazy. I gotta find those tickets. I swear to God,
Tickets?
I was going to go to London. Yeah, I was going to go to London for for that show, for Michael Jackson's last show. I was just flipping back to Michael. Yeah, for the one at was it not Wembley? Where was it going to be at?
Not the O2
Arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last show. This is it, and he freaking died. But so I had bought the tickets, and me and a couple other buddies, we were going to go over there, and and then the O2 or the tour or whatever, after he died, they sent me a thing, and they were like, hey, what do you want to do? You can donate the money to the Michael Jackson Foundation or whatever.
Yeah,
And I was
right.
like, screw that. I was like, send me my tickets.
Yeah.
And so I have those tickets somewhere, and I need to find them. I think they're in storage somewhere.
Make sure you keep them as pristine as possible because they'll be worth something. I have Nirvana tickets for gigs the week or two after Kurt killed himself for England.
Oh, wow.
And they're worth a couple $100 each at least, so probably more. If I get them slabbed or something, they'll be worth a lot more. But and it was an investment on eBay 20 years ago. I thought let's get them for $25 each. It's nothing. They'll go up.
Oh yeah, but you're right. Like I have no idea what they would cost now, and I know I have them somewhere there. I do believe they're in storage.
I'd love to see those, but just like I said, make sure they're flat wherever they are. Just keep them in good shape.
Yeah. I'm hoping they're not, they haven't been eaten by rats or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Probably at I went over a
Yeah, a million things you looked at and said, "Oh, I wonder what that cost."
There was a table there for $500,000.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, imagine that.
Yeah.
$500,000.
What's a $500,000 table
No
look like?
chairs come with that, do they?
Actually, it was like a 20th century thing, like not an old antique-y thing.
Right.
And
Whatever bullshit. What $500,000 fucking desk are you looking at an antique show? That's from the 20th century.
Exactly. That's totally made up. He just made that up to try to make the $300,000 desk thing, look smaller by comparison.
Yeah, exactly.
He's so transparent. It's like he's I don't know. He's very, when you think about it, he's very childlike. It's like he never grew up, because he was so pampered and babied his whole life.
Well, you're right. It's a very childish way to try to make the story seem less real, or make it seem make it more diminutive. The 300,000, like that's a lot of money, but this thing was way beyond my price range.
Oh yeah, wait, and it was only from the 20th century or whatever. It's like, shut up, Howard.
Dude, you just signed a $100 million contract a year. You can't. You're not going to win this.
Right. I just thought about something though that I had never thought about Howard in this way before, but I remember reading something once, and it was about pro athletes and about how they are, like you think about it, and let's talk basketball, but it could be soccer, it could be American football, or any other sport, baseball, and you can see it. You can see, like, there's certain, I mean, even laymen. For example, I'll never forget this. I remember once when my son was maybe about 9 or 10, I would take him to these ASU basketball camps in the summer or whatever. So we went one year, and there was a kid that was about, and the age range went from, like, I don't know, 7 years old up to high school age kids. But there was this kid that was maybe about 11, and he was playing with the high school kids. I mean, he was an 11-year-old. He wasn't physically as big as the other kids, but he was incredible. Like he was like, even the college athletes, the dudes, the guys from the team that would come in and help coach, they were like amazed. I mean, they started playing with the kid. Like he would play with them. He was that good.
Okay.
Then, and I wish I would have gotten that kid's name. I regret not knowing that kid's name, but I could almost guarantee you that he played Division I basketball somewhere.
Yeah.
And so my point is, these kids, they get identified maybe when they're about, 12, 13, 14 years old. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then, so people see that, and then they see the talent. And then from that point forward, they're kind of, what's the right word? Pampered. They're pampered. That's a perfect word. They're pampered. They're given everything. They're, oh, look, it's Johnny. Oh, yeah, man, he's incredible in basketball. And it just goes on. And through high school,
they try to they're trying to incentivize them to go to this school, to make sure to get into this program, to put them on this track to get to the draft.
Right. And the point is, and I've seen it. I've actually been around very closely with professional athletes. I represented a co-defendant on a case that involved two guys that were on the Suns. And so I got to like see these guys and see them really kind of intimately. And they were very childlike. And I remember being kind of fascinated by it. And then I read this article, and they were saying that basically their maturity level ended at the point where they started being treated like they were exceptional, because they were exceptional athletically or whatever. And if you think about Howard in that way, it's kind of the same thing. Like he was pampered by his parents, pampered throughout, like his childhood into college. And then he, all of a sudden makes that rise. And so, he really has. It's like his development ended around the same time. Not to say that he was spotted as being talented, but that pampering. Yeah. But the pampering never ended.
Well, yes, and then he started making real money, and then he still did. But like as an adult, I'm sure when you grew up, you would still ask your dad for advice. When he was, just because you like at the very least ask for his take, right? Howard was wholly dependent on Ben Stern for his actual business dealings. That's a whole other ballgame. It's one thing to ask your dad, what do you think about, should I take this or not? Well, you got to make the final decision. It sounds to me like it's a good deal, blah, 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 but you go do it. Howard made it sound like he couldn't make a move without consulting Ben. And that's exactly how his life worked out.
Yeah. And then Ben was, I think he downplays it a lot, but I think Ben was really kind of upper middle class. I mean, that he worked at that
recording studio,
that sound studio. Yeah. Wait, didn't he own it too? Or
he was part owner. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we're talking about, he was the one that made those underdog cartoons there.
You got it.
Or recorded the sound there. Yeah. So, I mean, he was in that. It was it's different. The whole talent thing is a little bit different, because it's not like Howard was identified as some kind of great talent at 14 or whatever.
Right.
But the pampering, I think, is the point that, once that starts and it really gets ingrained and you don't have to do anything kind of on your own, your maturity stops. Like you stop growing as a person, or the ones that overcome it really have to work hard to ground themselves. And we know that Howard didn't have any of that, and a lot of pro athletes don't have it.
Well, it's a good point to make, because when he moved to Detroit, we covered it with the Colford saga. Ben and I did, at least, and maybe Sam did at one point. But I think the Detroit segment where he talks about, my mother and my wife packed our stuff so we could move. That's like from Ben and Ray to Allison. He always had some mother figure taking care of him for him.
Yeah, that's kind of like I remember there was a story about Peyton Manning that his mom, before he got married, like his mom would like set his clothes out for him. Like you're like 10 years old before you go to school. Now here I set your clothes out,
Right.
Jimmy. Go so yeah, that she would do that, and we're talking about a grown man,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but that's the level.
Like you could understand it for an 18-year-old basketball prodigy that doesn't know jack shit, like doesn't spend they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to do anything.
Right.
But the mother decides for the first year they want to live with the kid to make sure that things are taken care of, and it's also someone they can trust.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, but Howard was like an adult when he started making these upward moves, and had other people wiping his ass for him pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that, because Kevin Durant's mother did that. She lived with him, for the first couple of years when he was in the NBA, and you could kind of understand that, and I think maybe that's kind of what it was with Peyton as well. But it is kind of funny thinking about, being grown and someone's like, matching your stuff up like you're wearing Garanimals from Sears,
Washing your clothes for you, putting them out for you, cleaning them. Oh Lord!
It was like $500,000 coffee table, and like I guess people who know this stuff, they actually make money and stuff with it. But I don't know anything about it. And I was there as a guest of this guy who was nice enough to invite me. And I used to go to the Armory all the time when they had the Japanese show and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I do that stuff all the time too.
Yeah. Stern hasn't finished the shingle-style mansion he's building on 4 acres in Southampton. He's already recruited designer. Okay.
So he mentions the name of the designer. He doesn't mention the name of the designer in the column, but it's in the column. If he doesn't want to mention it, it's because he knows. And the reason why he went is because they got it right. So what about all these 15 things they got wrong? So far, nothing's been wrong.
Yeah. He actually said it was 100%, all of it was 100% wrong. And I'm like, what? Yeah.
Hold on. I'm going to take a look at this. The Armory is this clothing joint in New York. So let's look up, let's say suits. Okay. Just an example here. The Armory, wool gabardine model 3A suit, terracotta pink, perfect for Howard, US $2,000. So suits here, like upwards of $2,000 or whatever. So obviously it's some shishi joint. I don't know anything about it. What watches? Let's see what they've got here. A Cartier tank and its finest attire. Let's see more. 7 links. Okay, what's the damage on this piece of shit? God, what an ugly watch. How to purchase.
See, it doesn't even have the price.
Oh, it does. Pricing for our bracelet starts at Hong Kong dollars 159,000 / US dollars 20,500 for the single color and US 24,500 for the tricolor.
Yeah, I've seen there's a place in God, I don't know. I'm trying to think how I got on their mailing list. I bought something from them once, long time ago, and it was super on sale, clearance, whatever. But it's a clothing store called J Press, and I think they started in DC, but it's on all these like preppy places like New Haven, Connecticut, and all this other stuff. But they started selling watches, like used watches, like used
luxury brands,
Rolexes and stuff like that. Yeah, and then one time I was like, oh wow, they have vintage. No, they call them vintage watches.
Okay,
and so I go, oh cool, vintage watches, And so I clicked on one of them, and it was some kind of Rolex Oyster or something, whatever, and it was like, worth half as much as my house or something. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, I got to get off this mailing list.
There's a certain amount, like if you make a certain amount of money, those things don't really they're not surprising to me. Most of the watches I've seen and liked, they're affordable they're about as affordable as your wife's engagement ring, that kind of thing. They might take a couple paychecks to pay off, but they're not. If you're struggling paycheck to paycheck, obviously you're not going to buy them. But for somebody like Howard, that's chump change. You could drop 20 dimes at a watch shop and not think twice at it. Yeah,
again, to you and me, it'd be like $20.
Yeah.
20, like, oh yeah, what is it, 20 grand? Okay, yeah, here.
Nothing.
I got that in cash. Right.
We
it's
have
no
to,
big
we
deal.
have to play. We have to play some of Howard's stories about going to the casino with like $100 and walking out after he's lost it. Man, if I had that money, I'd be in Vegas making it rain daily.
Oh my God, yeah, they're losing it. But God, what is that? Have you heard that about was it? There's these rumors about Bruno Mars.
Oh yes, that
he has
he's a massive gambling debts.
Yeah, and he's got a residency in Vegas, and he's basically
Paying it off.
enslaved there. Like, hey, buddy, you're going to be doing this for the next 20 years to pay off that nut you have at our casino. So get out there.
That's pretty much what Elvis's problem was. Colonel Parker owed money to the casinos, and that's why he had him playing there those years. And the Memphis Mafia had stories about. They said they would set up the Colonel at a roulette table and just have him there. They wouldn't allow anybody else at the table, and you didn't know what the denominations were because his chips had no numbers on them. So you didn't know how much he was actually playing, and they would run up a credit for him, and then Elvis ended up having to pay the debt by his shows. So he was in Hawk. He said, "I'll play this fucking place until I die," and he did.
Wow. Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, I've heard that about Bruno too, but he's also a guy who I don't think has he had any new music come out lately, or he's probably too busy doing these damn shows.
He's probably too busy leg breakers with Fingers Malone telling him, "It's a 7 o'clock show. Come on,
get your ass out there."
Maybe you can cut into the debt, cut into the vig. Jesus.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
Right? Yeah, the big. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They're planning some space for Beth. A spy says she has a separate bedroom in the beach house Stern rented last summer. For $600,000. I didn't rent a house for $600,000. That's number one. I never paid $600,000. That's number one. He keeps writing that shit. But okay, I don't even care about that.
First of all, he got to rent and then bought. He's using two different verbs. And second of all, she does have a separate place in their Hampton's house, which we know about because they've discussed it. She has her own room and whatever. Now, mind you, this again is not a surprising thing in when you get married and you want your own room, but to sleep in.
Right. And then it's funny too, because, he's like, well, I don't care about that. It's all 100% wrong. Okay.
That's why I'll just skip over it.
Right.
Yeah.
Throwing around that S word a lot, and it sounds a little gratuitous.
Is it? Okay, I'm sorry. But I'm really pissed, and I'm tired, and I'm fucking cranky. Right?
Now the fucking sounded real.
See, it's funny. I thought there weren't enough shits in there, Robin. See how different we are?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to find the right balance. Robin's right. So, the idea that... so the other day I told you they called and asked if we had separate bedrooms.
Right.
And I wouldn't even dignify it with an answer. It's not my job. But I was on the air here, and I told you, we don't have separate bedrooms.
Right.
So they do.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
The house where we sleep together every single night in one bedroom. So that's even wrong. But I don't care about that. That's fine with me. I don't give a shit. If you want to say have separate bedrooms, fine. Maybe she needs to recover from the activities in the master bedroom.
That's his way of saying, all right, maybe they do sleep together. She doesn't have a separate bedroom.
Whatever the decor, the king of all media always will be himself. At the antique show, when a pretty girl gushed, "Howard, I love you," Howard replied, "So are you going to get on your knees now?" Can you imagine at an antique show? And a woman says...
You're standing next to a $300,000 desk.
Yeah. And I said, so get on your knees now? I mean...
Obviously new money.
On the life of my children, I would never fucking ever say that. I'd be, first of all, very thrilled that a woman would say, "Howard, I love you."
Absolutely. You're always gracious.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like that.
If you were a prosecuting attorney, would you already be like licking your lips, waiting for your, defense attorney or whatever, going, "Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, they got details here. Maybe we should just get him to shut up."
Yeah. Too many. Too many, too many. I could imagine having him as a client and actually trying to prep him for testimony. I mean, it would just be horrible because he's such a narcissist that he believes he's smarter than everyone else, and he's playing chess while everybody's playing checkers, and and he's just going to talk himself into it. I'll tell you from experience that was a problem defending a lot of child molesters and stuff like that. Those guys were I hated having to defend them, like when I was a public defender, because they were so, number one, they were manipulative, because that's what they do. They manipulate kids into doing what they want to do. And the other part is they thought they were smarter than everybody. They thought you were smarter than their lawyer, thought they were smarter than the prosecutor, thought they were smarter than the judge and the jury. Yeah. So a lot of times they would go to trial and just get their heads ripped off. It deservedly so for a lot of most of the time, but you couldn't reason with them, and I had a buddy, and it's interesting because he kind of specialized in those kind of cases. I didn't like him. Especially when I got into private practice, I would shy away from them because they were a lot of times I did, because they were so problematic for the reasons I just mentioned. And then they'd get convicted, and then they'd start blaming the lawyer, and you'd get bar complaints. Like this buddy of mine would get these bar complaints from these guys constantly, and they were all BS. But you have to defend them. You have to defend yourself. Yeah. And it's just, it's like, it was, I used to say, like, man, I just don't get why you do these. But here's the thing. He was making a grip of money because a lot of lawyers just don't want to represent these dudes. And the ones that do charge a lot. And so he made a ton of money, but man, he put up with a lot of shit.
Sometimes the money's not worth it, especially if you have to. If you're in court and you listen to the stories, the testimony. I mean, Mrs. Fillmore worked as a clerk in court when she was in university, and she was studying corrections at one point in college. Mm-hmm. Because she has 2 degrees, and she said the story there was a story about a guy that molested his younger siblings, basically. And she had to be in there, and she said the jury was fucking crying, the lawyers were crying, the judge was wiping tears away. It was one of the most horrific stories. And she knows that one of the bailiffs there years later committed suicide because they couldn't take. That's how bad it was. Well, with Howard, with these frivolous cases, let's take it to Howard's situation. A frivolous case like this. Mm-hmm. So it's you said a libel case. Would you, first thing as an attorney, to say, look, I know you have the money to proceed with this, but do you want to waste your time making them spend lawyer fees like for a case you're going to lose?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he would. That's why, I think that's why he's doing what he's doing here. I mean, he probably didn't even go to a lawyer because he already knows, he himself knows the shit is true. Yes. So
just using his forum to debate in public, the court of public opinion, as it were. But I mean, now he's debating on Sirius, which has got even fewer viewers or listeners.
Right. Yeah. This is more like what did we used to call it when he would punch against the tapes?
Shadow boxing against audio tape.
Yeah.
Or video, exactly. As the case may be. Yeah.
Years ago when Rush and Malloy were on our show, a lot of people called and said they frequented swing clubs. And I didn't put the calls on the air.
Oh.
Yeah. A lot of people called in, and I thought, well, that's not fair to them.
Right.
They don't, I can't substantiate that. Where would I say to a woman, get on your knees now? Well, and I got 3 daughters who read this shit.
That swing clubs is also his bullshit right now. No one was calling in for that crap. And he knows that he couldn't, someone could call in like that, but he'd have to, immediately say, we don't know anything about that.
Right, because they'd be worried about libel or defamation defamation themselves.
Yes.
And you know what this reminded me of? This is reminding, and I wish I could remember the original context, but this was another one of these punching against the tapes things that Howard did. He was pissed off at somebody, and he said,
the one where he was going to go fight them?
No, not that one. The one where he said, I honestly, Robin, this person shouldn't be left around children. I could say
that
more,
was,
but I won't right
that
now.
was Jamie
Who
Foxx.
did you say that about?
That was Jamie Foxx. Now, Jamie Foxx, the rumors about him being a fruit are long, and like they're not as big. There's not as many of them as there are about Will Smith, let's say. But Jamie Foxx has been rumored to be swishy for a long time. And that was when Jamie Foxx was on the Foxhole, that show on Sirius. That's where it really pissed Howard off. And he at some point, he shouldn't be around children. That's all I got to say. And
I could say more. I could say more, but I won't.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
And it came to nothing. And he actually had him on the show a couple times, once before that and once after that. And I never understood what that was, except it was like two bitches slap fighting. That's what that seemed like to me. Because if Jamie Foxx is gay, then it's two queens, battling it out, just trying to scratch each other's eyes out, through gossip.
Right.
So, did you hear about that with Jamie Foxx being gay?
I do, but it's, oh man, you should interview. You should have Ina on this, because she's got some true Hollywood stories when she lived in LA.
Okay.
And one of which involved him, but it was like he was just like a freak. Like he would have these parties and just debauchery going on and stuff like that. But nothing.
Was it all guys?
No, it was girls. And like her thing was, oh yeah, he really liked showing off his his wiener. That was his bag back then.
Wonderful.
Like he would just show it to anybody. Like here it is. Like,
okay,
well,
okay, he's an exhibitionist in Hollywood.
I guess, yeah. He was proud of it. Apparently, he was pretty good sized or whatever. I don't know, but I just thought it was funny when she was telling me these stories. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, it was crazy. She had a friend or something that was. They went to either his house or the trailer or something, and he's just like whips it out, like, take a look.
Well, listen,
okay,
your homework.
They all give him golf claps.
Your homework before we return to recording again in the future is to get all these stories down longhand and send them to me. And we can go over them one by one.
Mistake being nice to a gossip. They're the worst.
Yeah, I've always had the philosophy, well, if you're nice to them,
no.
Like maybe they'll be okay with you, but no, it's like
doesn't work out.
Yeah. And I'm the first one to admit I love gossip and I love reading it, but
how can you believe a thing when you read what's written about you?
Yeah, I'm telling you. I mean, it's just a complete lie.
It's true about everybody else, but it's a lie when it's about him, of course.
Yeah, exactly. I love reading about other people, but not me.
Well, the one that I sent it to Raven yesterday, and we just had fun, like sort of going back over it, because it did make very, it wasn't the nicest one you could possibly read. So here it is. And Raven, I'm sorry that I'm reading this without you. This A-list actor from an iconic television role is not known for using drugs. He does. He's also known for beating escorts and then throwing a whole bunch of cash their way. David Schwimmer, Friends.
Wow. Didn't not David Spade. What's his name? There was that big thing about Pauly Shore. Remember that?
Oh, yeah,
Pauly
Shore. That blind that we read about him and Denise Richards beating her up.
Yeah, that was crazy. But then who got him back? Somebody beat him within an inch of his life.
It was Charlie Sheen sent some leg breakers that got a hold of him, or they were looking for him, but then Heidi Fleiss's leg breakers, who she was employed with. She was one of Heidi Fleiss's girls. She got a hold of Pauly before Charlie's people did. Like there was 3 sets of hit people looking for Pauly. This Hollywood exec, Charlie Sheen, Charlie Sheen's people, and then Heidi Fleiss's people. But Heidi Fleiss's people got a hold of him, beat him to a pulp, stripped him naked, put him in a bag, and hung him on one of the letters of the Hollywood sign.
Right. Yeah. He's lucky. He's lucky he lived through that. Has he ever talked about it?
No. And I guarantee, like, if that was a lie, it was too elaborate a story. That makes perfect sense given the arc of his career and how he kind of went nowhere. Like he went nowhere fast. He didn't just. Yep. It was like he did die, in terms of business, because yes, his films were doing less business, but around the time that Denise Richards would have been coming up, he just completely off the Hollywood map.
Yeah, and again, like you said, if all of this stuff if it was just lies, none of it was true, none of it were true, he'd be suing. He'd be the same with Denise Richards, because I've heard that about her too, that she was in with Heidi and those guys. But that's pretty. You would think that would be damaging to an actress's career, and if it weren't true, they would be in court.
Well, they have fixers to deal with it. The ones I've heard of that were apparently really high priced hookers were her, and the other one was Michelle Pfeiffer was another one.
Wow.
And then the other one was Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I wouldn't be surprised by any of them.
Wow. Well, yeah.
So, I mean, and they have fixers. They have people to get rid of their past. They have people going like straight to the madams or the pimps and saying like, look, it ends here. Here's a bunch of money. And don't you ever fucking say anything. Otherwise we've got people that can take care of you permanently.
Right.
That's as easy as it can be made. So, and Denise Richards, new boob job, new face job, whatever. And then just a role in a Hollywood part, and all of a sudden she has a career, and then so when she meets Charlie Sheen and marries him later on, it makes even more sense if you connect all the dots. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. Are they still? They're not still together, right?
No, they aren't. But apparently she was one of the. She used to be one of Charlie Sheen and what's her name from Melrose Place, the fucking Heather Locklear. She used to party with them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are some Polaroids.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I just never would do that to a woman. Gee, honey, get on your knees. I mean, I said to Beth, you were with me at my side the entire time.
And I'll throw baloney at their asses, but I won't say get on your knees.
Well, yeah, I would never. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's really this is one of those. Remember, like when we covered, him crying like a bitch in Les Moonves' office.
Right. During his hardball negotiations.
You got it.
Go to the bathroom. Did you ever hear me say to a woman, get on your knees?
You wouldn't say that if you were alone.
I know.
You wouldn't be alone with a woman.
I know. But this is what they choose to write about, and I don't mind a true story.
Yeah, you do. We're hearing all about it.
Yeah, that's what's happening right now.
And ask him if he's ever been to I want to know if they've ever been to a swingers club.
I think I'm going to get a voicemail.
Yeah, well, you tell him he's got to get on the phone with me.
Made that up.
Okay, so we're going to go to part 2, guys, because the rest is just a bunch of other horse shit. So we'll go to part 2 right now.
This won't be bad. It's so easy, huh? All right, hey, wait a second. Do you guys mind if I talk to the guy from the Daily News for a second? Because he's on the phone.
Sure.
Yeah, then you guys take a breather, and I'll have one more question for each of you, all right?
Okay.
All right. Hey, there's George. I got to straighten this out. Hey, George.
Yes, Howard.
George, you're killing me. You're killing me with your column.
What have I done now?
I got 3 daughters, dude.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you a question.
You're throwing the daughters right in the fray. It's like there's a game that I used to play. I still play it from time to time when I've got absolutely nothing better to do. Borderlands 2. And one of the main bad guys has a shield that he holds to ward off your guns. It's a first person shooter. And on top, attached to the shield are 3 midgets. So you got to fire through them first. Oh, it's great. And that's what Howard's using his kids as. Look at my kids. Please, my children. I'm a family man.
Right off the bat. Yeah. Right off the bat.
Yep.
as much as I can. Is there an agenda or something with you guys with me?
No. We actually like you. I mean, I don't know. What? Tell me what is bothering you.
All right. The worst, not only is every bit of your story wrong, but the only part that bothers me, I don't mind being lied about, but the part that bothers me, that I would be such a cad that if one of my female fans said to me, Howard, I love you, that in front of a group of people, I would turn to her and say, then get on your knees, is outrageous. I would never condone that kind of thing or do that kind of thing. My girlfriend was with me the whole time, and regardless of that, it's just, I've got 3 daughters who are going to read that in the paper.
But, okay, what's this, the 3rd time you mentioned the daughters? So in the initial read-up, in the initial read-through that he talks about, he mentions the column. I don't even know if it's still out there. I should have looked to see if we could read it and get the names out there.
Oh,
but
you mean the
Russian Malloy column.
Russian Malloy? No, it's over. They're like retired now.
No, I know, but sometimes you can get an archive. Like if I were able to look up Russian Malloy, the name of their column, maybe in the Wayback Machine, there might be a screen cap, but we never know.
Right.
So, but the thing is, one of the things is he made the comment, and his girlfriend Beth laughed, and it's that little detail is what sells the story, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that he's so. Yeah, I don't even know why he's making that big of a deal out of it because, yeah, like you said, I guess maybe he couldn't use her then as a foil because it was too quick because it was probably the truth that, yes. Oh, yeah, Beth started laughing. And he probably wishes he hadn't have said that so he could have, gone into this whole rap about, I couldn't believe that they would say that. I was with my girlfriend.
And
I
that she would find it funny.
Something. Right. Yeah, that's like, that's funny. Whatever.
I think that their father's some kind of lout that goes around saying to women, then get on your knees. I mean, that's what people imagine I'm like. So, George, tell me, how do you come to get this information?
It came from a eye and ear witness. Somebody said they witnessed this taking place.
Where was this?
At the antique show.
Who is the person?
Well, I cannot tell you by name.
Why, though? Because it's a complete and utter fabrication and lie. And you need to, listen, you were on my show once. I heard things about you, but they were hearsay. And you go to swingers clubs. Is that true? Answer the question.
Oh, no, I would like to try.
You've never been to a swinger club?
I have not been to a swingers club.
But that's why I didn't bring it up, because good sources have told me that you've been to swinger clubs.
Well, Howard, can we set up some system where I can run this stuff by you?
No. That's the part I don't understand.
Just because somebody says something, you don't ever check this stuff out.
That's the problem. I didn't call George when I heard the thing about the swingers clubs.
Yeah, right. Okay. But whatever bullshit. First of all, you're making the swingers clubs thing up now and today, and that's all it is. The thing is, when he talks about this nonsense, some people will say Don had the right idea when he told Howard years and years ago, don't respond to the like when they ask for a comment, don't respond because then it goes away. But when you make a comment, suddenly it becomes a news story. It becomes something more and more whatever. So he would instead just talk about it on the air to his fans. Mm-hmm. And the fans, being a bunch of, blind idiots, would just go, oh, well, Howard says it isn't true, so it must not be true, until you start getting some smart, I can read between the lines listeners, and they figure, when they hear enough of this stuff, they figure out that he's full of shit. They know his MO as well.
That he'll never accept, never say, well, yeah, that's true, or what. He'll never do that. All he will do is attack, always be on offense.
The best defense is a good offense type of thing.
Right. And when I was listening to Howard just now, that's who it reminded me of, because you listen back and just see how many times he said swinger club. That you were going to the swinger club. So you're saying that you didn't go to the swinger club. Well, I had heard that you went to the swinger club.
All of a sudden it's news.
Right.
Magic thinking.
And it's reinforcing what he's trying to say, and so let's just say you happen to switch on the radio on your way to work that morning or whatever, and you heard, you heard just that little bit, even if you didn't know who the guy was,
right,
you would associate, oh yeah, that Russo guy, or I'm sorry, that Rush guy. Oh, that's that guy that goes to Swinger Club that Howard was talking about.
Because Howard was saying,
yeah.
Well, there's
exactly.
certain things certain stories Howard has recycled over the decades, like about, famous Hollywood actors who acted a certain way and then got blackballed and stuff like that. But those are stories that end up getting corroborated. When he's talking about stuff like this, and he's coming at it like from a defensive point of view, this is the problem. He's coming at it from a position of weakness, not strength. And the other thing is, by this point, 2006, there are way more haters popping up about Howard than there are, because of the way he treated Opie and Anthony at K-Rock. So this whole method, like the same MO every time: attack, as you said, go on the attack, make up bullshit,
right,
and then go on about it, and use the airwaves as your whatever artillery,
as your weapon. Yeah,
but now your weapons, you got a gun with no bullets in it because you're on satellite.
Right. Yeah, no one cares. Yeah, there's not this army of idiots that used to be, that he could summon and have show up at an appearance, and like when he used to do that thing with the guy in Philadelphia, he would hit that rival DJ or whatever, and he would have like these legions of Howard fans would show up and heckle that guy at his promos and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, like there's no funerals going on. They're for DJs and stuff.
Right.
But the problem is he's a year out of terrestrial radio, or just about almost a year, but he hasn't realized he's not on radio anymore.
Yeah, you're right. Like he doesn't have the reach even, and that was, God, you could argue that those years were the peak pinnacle, or were the pinnacle of the Sirius XM years.
Yes.
That was the peak when people were switching over and getting those shitty radios that you and I talked about.
Yeah.
What was the one? The Stiletto.
Oh, the Stiletto. Yeah. The boot. Yeah. Well, the Sportster or whatever.
And the boom box.
Well, the thing is, if he, and I know he and Don both went like this. They both thought, okay, we've got more or less a year and some change to promo this on regular radio. If we don't do this, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. They basically did a Hail Mary and said, if we do this, it should happen within a year and a half. All the subs are going to come. That's the most we're going to get at any given time.
Yep.
After a year was done and not everybody went, and they realized, oh my God, we barely got a tenth of the people that listened to us to pay. That the gig is up. We're not going to be getting another million people next year on top of the other million. When people see this hardware, how shit it is, how much they've got to pay every month, that it's not worth it. He's off Fridays now, and then the extra vacations during the summer. The word of mouth got out.
Well, people, they went on with their lives. People are like, oh, Howard's not on the. I mean, I'm talking about like casual, non-super fans. Yeah. They went on with their lives.
Yes.
Like I can remember. I can remember people saying, like, when he went off, or for an example, my ex-wife, she and I would listen, like on our ways to work or whatever. And then sometimes, after work or whatever, come home and we'd like bring something up stupid that happened on the show and laugh about it or whatever. But after, he left terrestrial radio, it's not like she ran out and bought any Sirius XM stuff. As far as I know, she never listened to him again.
No, your habits changed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like whatever. That guy. Oh yeah, he's not on anymore. Oh, let me see who's on this radio station. Whatever. And they start listening. Whatever the hell she did,
because that was way easier.
Right, and a lot of casual. You got to imagine that there were, like you say, maybe out of 10 listeners back then, 9 of them were that way. That, or maybe 8, giving them credit for 20% of that audience. But 80, probably 80, 70, I'd say 75 to 80% were they just went on with their lives.
Yes.
Switched to listen to something else. Like, oh yeah, he ain't on this no more. Oh, I wonder where he went. Oh, I hope he's okay. Because yeah, I mean, you've had that experience. You've talked to people, and they're like, "He's still alive?
Yes,
he's still on the radio."
Well, yeah. When I've told people, even peers. So like I've got this podcast going on because I don't, in my own Facebook, I don't actually promote it. I do it for, my Jim Fix Facebook page because mostly because of the language we use. There's some people that I know in my life would not appreciate seeing, the fagula cometh or something like that, like these Photoshops that I have.
Right.
I just know it's not. And also it's so niche. That's the other reason why I don't bother doing it. But when I have told them about it, they go like, who? Like it ranges from who or he's still alive, that kind of thing, like he's the Abe Vigoda of radio. Like you go, I thought he died years ago, or I didn't even know he was still on. And that's probably the worst thing a celeb can hear in terms of their Q rating.
Yeah, now I want to do an experiment. I want to ask my stepson. He's he's 22.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say, hey, man, you know anything about Howard Stern? Just to see what he
like, what do you know? Like, let's do some word association. I name this guy. What is the first thing you think of?
Right. Yeah. I would almost put money that his first response would be who?
Who? Right.
Like who? Who's that?
Do you think Howard's now at the point where Stuttering John could interview him and say, do you miss being in the limelight? I love those questions.
Stuttering John.
But I know that George, because I was talking to your publicist, and I know that George, what happens is he gets these stories, and then he calls Don, and Don doesn't return his call, and he calls your publicist, and they say we have no comment.
But that doesn't mean it's a true story.
I got you. I'm just telling you what he says he needs to do.
But George, that doesn't mean it's a true story.
So if Howard says that didn't happen, what do you write? Howard denies this after you write the story?
It depends on what he says. If he's as adamant as he is right now, I probably would have left it alone, or I would go back to my source and say, how can you say this? Howard says it's bullshit. And I'm happy to do that if there's somebody I can put it to. I mean,
but then when there isn't, and Howard never gets back to you, which he never will, this happens.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Howard's, you're to blame, dude. All you have to do is just say it's nonsense.
Right. And he never did. No. And he doesn't because why? Because it was true.
Exactly.
George, here's my thing I don't understand. If somebody makes an accusation about me that I'm such a lout that I would walk around, I've already called my father to explain that it wasn't true. My father goes, I know you don't do that. I've got to call my daughters.
Talking about prayer, that you were inviting them to worship.
I've got to call my daughters now and explain to them that this is a total and utter lie. My girlfriend was at my side my entire time. I had.
When's the last? He's not calling his daughters. Come on, dude. Right. Now we're getting into science fiction.
That's what I'm laughing about. He's going to call his daughter. He probably doesn't even have their numbers.
Yeah. What's her first?
What's call somebody?
What's my middle daughter's name?
Friends with me. No one heard me say this. I said to Beth, have you ever heard me talk that way to a woman? Ever. And Robin knows me, and people know me. I don't do... That's what people pretend. You know how many people...
That's what a lot of people expect you to act that way.
People think that's what I am.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, too, that I even have people come out of the woodwork who claim they went to college with me, and that I was the wild man of college. There couldn't have been a bigger nerd in college than me. I didn't have one friend. I had one friend, Dr. Weinstein.
In fact, it's known that you are completely different.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. What? Biggest nerd? No. Remember, he was
banging a
models.
Yeah.
Yeah, banging a model. And the hottest woman at Boston University wanted him.
Everybody was pissed off because he had her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Wait.
I love that
what?
clip.
This so... Me too. That's like, what?
That's one of my favorites, where Robin and Fred were both like, nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing.
No, this would be the perfect. This would be the perfect because I remember you were using that in the intro, and then that little clip that we just heard, run that right after it.
Well, let me see let me hold on. Model. I think if I just find, there we go. I was fucking a model in college. Hold on. Let me get this. Yeah, that was it. Hold on. Let's see.
Yeah.
Play with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we got to play this.
Yeah.
I was fucking a model in college. The entire Boston University hated me because everybody wanted this woman.
go back. You got to go back and play what he just said. I only had one friend.
Well, he's talking about high school. I played college. This was college, so I guess
he said college.
I thought he said hold
college.
on. Let's go back. Hold on.
Robin knows me and people know me. I don't do. That's what people pretend. You know how many people?
That's what a lot of people expect you to act that way.
People think that's what I am.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is too, that I even have people come out of the woodwork who claim they went to college with me and that I was the wild man of college. There couldn't have been a bigger nerd in college than me. I didn't have one friend. I had one friend, Dr. Wayne.
You're picturing a judge kind of, sipping at a pina colada listening to this.
I will say I love doing that on cross exam when it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, wait a minute. You just said when I talked to you, you told me this, or when you were interviewed by so and so,
right?
You said this, but when you were on direct, you said that. So tell us which one it is.
Yeah.
and then just look at them.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't understand what you were talking. I misunderstood. Oh,
right.
Oh, okay. You didn't understand. All right. And then I'll usually just look at the jury and just kind of do one of those things and shake my
eye
head
roll.
Like, okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next, let's move on. Next question. But this is a perfect one of those.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. You were
a dork.
So this model wanted you, yet you were the biggest dork and only had one friend.
Amazing, isn't it?
So
what was it?
Which one is it?
Was
it
she
can't
duct
be
taped?
both, can it? Right.
It's known that you are completely different off the air, so why wouldn't you question that, George?
You wrecked me today, man.
Again, it was just because someone said I was there and I heard it. Now, I'll go back and say, how can you say this if Howard says it's completely untrue?
Can you please have that? Why don't you confront your source and say, how about calling into Howard's show tomorrow so that we can hear how I turned to her in front of an entire antique show and say, then get on your knees? What about that?
Well, Howard, I will ask you this. In terms of, your daughters don't listen to your show, or, you seem to...
No, they don't. My daughters don't.
And weirder than that.
No, my daughters listen to the show.
That's also the show.
But one of the things I've said to my daughter...
He just said, my daughters don't listen to the show, and now he goes, no, my daughters listen to the show, because he realized when he said it, it sounded bad. My children don't listen to what I have to say. Even my kids don't care.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. God, just within the same freaking breath.
Fucking hell.
Daughters is, you know who I am, and I'm an entertainer. And when I'm on the air, I explore every wild thing that goes on in the world of politics, in the world of sex, in the world of drugs, rock and roll, and everything else. I said, but one of the things I pride myself on is my behavior is exemplary. I do not do inappropriate things to women or men. And when I'm on my show, if a woman wants to be naked, I have no problem justifying that to my daughters, because I'm not saying to them, you have to be naked. These are people who want to do all kinds of outrageous behavior. But I would never. I'm not one of the maniacs who would walk around saying to people, then get on your knees.
Well, isn't that ironic enough? He used to accuse Oprah of being exploitative, and certainly she was. Absolutely. Early on in her career, she was no different than Geraldo.
Oh, yeah. She was, people forget that, but she was like, Sally Jesse Raphael, the Ricky Lake Show, all that stuff. She was right there with them.
And he was no different. He was exactly the same.
No.
They were equal. Right. They were equally egomaniacal, exploitative people, narcissists. Mm-hmm. She was much more successful, much more of a mogul than Howard by far.
Right.
And there is a common thread in that, like you mentioned before, like there's a certain pattern of I'm going to say not pattern of behavior, but I guess pattern of ascension when they get big. And so Oprah wanted to whitewash her entire career, like where that started from. And he in turn has done the same thing.
Yeah. Tried to
at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my daughters don't listen to the show. And someone will say to them, what's with your father? And it's not fair. It's the same thing, too, that you write that. I don't really.
Someone will go to my daughters and say, your dad's an asshole.
Yeah, I've never heard that. Oh.
Yeah.
You care that you write that Beth and I have separate bedrooms? It's absurd. I said to my dad today on the phone, we were talking about you. I said, Dad, you've been to my house in the Hamptons. Does Beth have a separate bedroom? He goes, absolutely not.
He also never got in touch with his father. His father never contacted him with this. He's throwing his dad in. He's now, not only does his shield contain his 3 daughters, his father's now on the shield as well.
Right. Exactly. And like, that's something. Okay, we're talking about a multi-room. How would that conversation even really come up? Like, how would the dad know? You know what I mean? Like,
his dad's not going to the Hamptons.
Right, exactly. Or if he did, it's like, oh, hey, this is me and Beth's room, or this is Beth's room, or whatever. Okay, whatever. But the point is, what you just said is true. He didn't talk to his dad.
No,
this is all made up.
His dad's not going to call him and say, I just heard on the show that I just read in Rush and Malloy that you and Beth have separate rooms. Is this true, Howard? Dad, yeah, sorry, yeah, I'm a fag. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not natural. Like, no one would, like, that's why when you hear this now, like, when I heard it the first time, this was one more of those, like, humana moments, much like Condom Gate. The trailers, the condoms on the rider for private parts, and then, Jim Carrey, claimed that he enabled Kinnison, and then this other guy, Lloyd Grove, said he stole from Johnny Carson, so he got all over this whole, and then that Rob Sheffield one where he talked about Rolling Stone giving him a shitty review, and then said, "Don't invite me to any more of those fag parties." Why are you getting invited?
Didn't he also get called out for copying but I'm trying to remember who called him out. Pre-internet days.
Mark Hamill.
What was the guy's name? What was the DJ's name? Dahl?
Steve
in
Dahl.
Chicago?
Yep.
Yeah, Dahl. So was Hamill the one that called him out on it?
Mark Hamill, during an interview, said that Howard stole a joke or something, or made something up, that he ripped something off. I can't remember the context. I'll have to get back to that one because it was part of an interview and it was a blink if you'll miss it, that kind of thing. But with Steve Dahl, the calling the bijou, the gay, cinema, the certain other things like God, was it the traffic, like the Mama Look a Boo Boo Day was a ripoff of Leroy, the traffic, whatever, the traffic reporter or something like that.
The helicopter traffic reporter guy. Yeah, all of that stuff. There is no way. Well, first off, radio, I swear to God, man, it's pretty much dead now as far as, a medium. It's nothing like it once was, but really since the rise of the internet. But God, there is no way on God's green earth that Howard could have ascended to where he is now had the internet existed back when Dahl was doing his thing, when he was ripping off all the, these different people, but primarily Dahl.
Look at Carlos Mencia. Look at his career now. After that, finally, like, it took a while, it took years, but it finally caught on that he was a ripoff artist, and he never got over that.
No. Oh man, you know who? God, where was that? Now this isn't just me going half cocked about stuff like the one guy from those oh God, I can't remember what his name is now, but I said I had seen a blurb or something on the internet, but this is something I actually read, was about Robin Williams. People were saying, oh man, Robin Williams would steal jokes like crazy. Like people would change their sets, like when
John Witherspoon
would go to, like, comics. Exactly.
He was on somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. Hold on, let me just get to YouTube, because it was on. It might have been Rogan, but I'll just see about this. John Witherspoon, Robin Williams.
There it is, right
show
there.
It was. That's it. It was All Out Show. I don't know if it was Sirius XM, Shade 45. Give me a second.
Let's go to the phone lines. A bunch of people want to holler at you. 888-742-3345. 888-742-3345. You got John Witherspoon. It's Low in St. Louis. Go ahead, Low. Can you do my hook? Fix that thing for me? Go ahead.
He was saying, man. But I wanted to know, is it true that Robin Williams is known in the comedy world as a comedian that will go around and steal other comics material?
Well, he did that. He had a bad rap on him about that, man. And I have to admit it, he did. You know, it's not good to talk about the dead, but yeah, he would take somebody's people material. But he would have people, he would have his lawyer come in there when he come back to the comic store and give everybody a check that he stole the material. See if you prove that he had stolen the material. And he would steal stuff every week when he was on Mark and Mindy. So, yep. But you didn't get that from me.
He would take material and then come back with a check and pay them for the
When he
material?
was on Mark and Mindy, they told me he was ad-libbing. He was ad-libbing. That's why he was so funny. He taking all everybody's best material.
No shit.
Wow. Yeah, ain't
that's
that
crazy.
Yeah.
What is that?
Like in the scripts, and I remember it's in that I'm Dying Up Here book. It said that the scripts would be like, Robin goes off here, meaning, and like he's got to improvise all this shit. Like he's got to go nuts in this scene, and at that point, that's an incredible amount of pressure for someone like that who doesn't, maybe write. You can't write fast enough on a weekly basis to be funny every single time. So he had to go into the Comedy Store. He would listen and he'd rip stuff off, and then he'd pay them. He'd go in there with money, and I can't remember, it was David Brenner or someone else knocked him right out. Like he came up, the guy came up to Robin just as he was approaching Robin. Robin was peeling off all this money, and the guy knocked him right out. And
wow,
yeah,
wow. Now, well, I mean, I at least got to give him credit for paying people, which I don't know if Mencia was doing, but
no,
I mean, but it's still in the comic world, man. I know that's like,
that's a cardinal
sin. Big taboo. Yeah, it's a huge taboo.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do that. So, but it's interesting how, because, everyone's falling all over themselves about it. He's the greatest comic of our generation and this and that. And then, but then slowly this stuff started coming out.
Yes.
Because it's been a few years since he passed. But
I've got to ask you. John, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say John Witherspoon died a couple years ago.
Yes.
Sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoon. He was well respected in the community. I remember,
he was funny too,
and he was, yeah,
he was so funny.
The thing is, how long do you think it'll be? Like, how long do you think it'll be after Howard dies that the stories start coming out?
Probably sooner rather. Well, when did Thorson come out? Wait, what's his? Liberace was still alive, right? When Thorson stuff came out?
Are you kidding? Thorson, Liberace was long dead.
Oh, was he dead?
Oh yeah.
For some reason I thought he was still living. It's probably going to be, but it's sad because our Scott Thorson in this saga is already
already gone.
Ralphie. Yeah. So, I remember. God, I don't know if it was a comment on the YouTube page or something on Facebook in our group, but it was a comment on a page or on a blurb, a video, or a Photoshop of Gary after leaving the show, and someone made a comment about, oh man, Gary would have the best tell-all, and I wonder if Howard died, would he really do it? Would he take the gloves off and really lay it out there?
I don't think Gary would.
And I don't think so either.
No.
I don't think so either. Even with Howard being dead, I just can't see him doing it. But it had me thinking, well, who would finally, pull the veil back? And I mean, it's a different question than what you asked me. It really would depend on the person and how hard up the person was financially, to get the book written first, and it
might not even have to be. I don't know. There would be a book. It might be bits to like the National Enquirer, story by story.
Yeah. I mean, is that the best way to get paid nowadays, or would it be like these interviews, like on Vlad TV or whatever the heck John Witherspoon was just doing? I mean,
as far as I know, on Vlad TV, he does pay his guests to appear. I don't know. It's probably a flat fee, and then he gets the rights to whatever they record. Otherwise, he doesn't record them. Some of them were no shows because he said, nope, I got to be able to film this, got to be able to whatever. And he's discussed it at length. With Howard, it wouldn't be worth writing a book because who's going to, unless the tell-all is like enormously revealing, there's no point releasing it because no one wants to buy the book. If it's just like, my time with the Stern Show, Bowie's already done that, and it was a snooze fest. But if it would be somebody like Artie who decided to come out and say, here's the real story behind this asshole, I think a lot of people would buy it. It depends who's writing it and how juicy it is. And otherwise it'll be like story doled out over time. And if I were Bowie, I maybe wouldn't want the possibility of getting litigated against. Then I would just feed the stories to someone and make sure they got out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that brings up an interesting legal thing too about defaming, whether someone's estate can be defamed. 'cause after he's dead, I remember, now I can't remember what the answer was. I think it was kind of mixed. If I remember correctly, it might have gone state to state or whatever, like interpretation, but it was muddy. Whether or not, but the general rule was, once you're dead,
nothing can happen. Like anything can happen.
We talked about, remember that, because there was that issue with Carson's lawyer.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. And
because people were saying like, what kind of client, attorney-client privilege is that? Well, he wasn't his client anymore for however many years. And he had written the story he claimed like after he left Johnny, and it was a manuscript.
Right.
That he put it together for something, and then he decided to release it as a book in 2013. But they weren't lawyer-client anymore. However, if he was still alive, he'd be honor bound to keep that private, wouldn't he? While Carson was still alive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And no, then see, that brings up a separate but equally kind of fascinating issue about what you can say about your client once they're dead.
Yes.
Like the attorney-client, like does the attorney-client privilege survive the client's death?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was an issue with Carson's lawyer, and I just can't remember how it came out, but it might have been one of those things like sometimes these lawyers, celebrity lawyers or whatever, if they get enough of an advance, or if they're making enough money to offset any kind of
lawsuit.
Or let's say the bar snatches their license. They're like, big deal. I made $20 million off of this. What do I care? I'm not a lawyer anymore.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's really kind of stupid because, in my view, like I'll throw an example out there. There was a big case out here. God, I forgot her name. She killed her boyfriend in the shower. Let me hold on a second.
Yeah, we'll start as soon as you find the name. We'll start that one again.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a case out here. There's a woman named Jody Arias that killed her boyfriend. His name was Travis Alexander, and it was this big, huge, salacious case. It was all over everything. Man, the media came down, Nancy Grace and all these other pundits from all over. It was. Do you remember it at all? It was.
I know the name Jody Arias, but I don't remember all the details.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was like the trial, I think, was in 2010, if I remember right, 2009, 2010, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
and man, she had two lawyers. One of them, the main lawyer, actually, let's see. No, that trial was actually in 2013. It was actually when the verdict came out. Let's see, but it started in 2000, or the voir dire, the beginning of it started in 2012. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, she had two lawyers, a guy and a gal. The woman that was co-counsel, I actually went to law school with. The other guy was a public defender, and I didn't know him. I kind of met him later, but I never really knew the guy. I didn't know who he was.
Is this the one you said released his story?
Yes.
And then got disbarred?
Yes. Yeah, because he didn't get her, a client can waive it. If you go to your client and say, listen, I want to write this book, are you okay with that? Sure. Whatever, or what's my cut, or, whatever. Right. And he didn't do that. And it was like, why wouldn't you do that? And then it's not like Simon and Schuster or Penguin Books came to him and said, all right, we're going to give
$1 million
you $15
advance.
million. Yeah, here's a $15 million advance because we want to know everything.
Yeah.
And because if they would have done that, I would have been like, what's going to happen here? How much could I settle for? Whatever. I'll give Jody $5 million and then keep 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, it was a self-published book, like you do on Amazon or whatever,
Silliness.
and he duly lost his license, and he does. What does he do now? Because we're like, it's weird because we're like Facebook friends or whatever, but I don't really know him. I know who he is and I've seen him around afterwards, but yeah, he's doing like life coaching and does these like motivational speaking or something, and he seems happy. But there's another factor to it too that I might have alluded to when we talked about it earlier.
Yeah,
he had cancer, and I think he didn't think he was going to survive. I think that might have been part of it, where he was just like, look, F it, I don't care about any of this.
Yeah,
and I'm going to say what I want to say, and that'll be the end. But he beat it. He beat cancer.
Oh shit!
And he lived. It's like, oh no, now what?
Maybe look for more cancer to get. Well, what are you going to do? I think at the end of the day, with regards to Howard and how he's going to handle it, like his estate won't be able to do shit. His kids are not going to seek any fucking damages on his behalf. That's for certain. Allison won't.
Yeah.
Beth's too stupid and she wouldn't care anyway. She hates him just as much as everybody else does, including us. So he wouldn't have, and Buchwald's gone. No one's there to really white knight him anymore. Jimmy Kimmel might go, how dare you? But I think Jimmy Kimmel, after enough years, knows he's a piece of shit as well.
Well, right. And there's no, it's not like, this is going to make the work of the Howard Stern Charitable Foundation be even less revered in the public's eye.
Fuck
I mean,
off.
come on. Yeah. He's never given a thin dime to anybody, out of the kindness of his heart.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I imagine even if someone did and someone did raise some kind of challenge on behalf of his estate, the court probably would rule like, what reputation? What are you talking about?
Right.
How could it be worse?
You're the guy that asked, would you rather have sex with Adolf Hitler or an AIDS patient? And you're worried about your reputation. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for this one. It's always fun getting together with Carrie on these episodes, especially where it comes to Howard and his big mouth, putting his foot in his own mouth, which is considerable, and his feet are considerable apparently. And the last time I think you had the dedication for the song, but I can't remember what the song was. Hold on, let me check. Was it Fire Island?
Yeah, I think so. It's Fire Island by the Village People.
Okay, so this one is about antiques. I'll think about it this time. I'll think about it. I'll come up with something good for you guys. But in either event, thank you so much. Any shout-outs?
No, not at this time. Just to the Facebook family's been pretty funny lately with a lot of the memes and just the comments about Howard and this big reveal that's going to happen day after tomorrow or whatever. Yeah. Oh God, I can't wait.
It's all nonsense.
Exactly. I don't think much is going to come of it.
No, he'll still be around, unfortunately. But fortunately for you guys, we'll cover it. So on behalf of everybody at QF, guys, we hope you enjoyed this one. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.
Pasta asciutta. I don't say pasta asciutta. I say pasticcio. Pasta, that's what I say. He's a phony Italian, Paul. Who's Italian? Yeah. Why, you're Napolitano. I'm Napolitano. Sure. You don't understand Sicilia. Altovilla. No, Altovilla. Era solo mano mangiata. Sì, ma ti ha mangiato tu. Solo mano mangiata, ragazza. Ti ha mangiato. È stupato di Santa Capodotto. Perché per le